The Chicago Bulls had a very aggressive offseason that has people very interested in this team next season. The only guys that are returning from last season are Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, Kobe White, and Patrick Williams. They cleaned house by adding Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso, Alize Johnson, Derrick Jones Jr., and more. This team looks very different, and the moves to get Lonzo Ball and DeMar DeRozan have had a pretty mixed reception among NBA media and others. Some praise the Bulls for being aggressive and putting themselves in the best position to win, while some others have some very interesting opinions. Today I want to talk about some of the negative reception the Bulls have gotten for their offseason and basically break down why, in my opinion, they're wrong. Now remember, I am a Bulls fan, so this is very biased, but I still want to talk about it because it's been kind of annoying to hear some bizarre opinions about this team, and I want to get it off my chest. Before we start though, I want to remind you guys that around 80% of the people watching this video aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you haven't already, please be sure to hit that subscribe button for more NBA content. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like. It makes a big difference in helping this channel grow, and I would greatly appreciate it. Alright, now that that's out of the way, let's look at some of the bad takes about my Chicago Bulls and hopefully debunk them. So the NBA did a survey that included 10 NBA scouts and executives, and they were asked plenty of questions, including their thoughts on the offseason and certain moves that were done by teams. When asked what was the best move of the offseason, 5 of them said Kyle Lowry to the Miami Heat was the best, and only 1 of them said the Bulls. They were glowing about the fit and how Lowry in Miami just worked so well. And to be fair, I agree. I love the Lowry move to the Heat, and they will be a very good team next season. But when these same people were asked about the worst move of the offseason, DeMar DeRozan to the Bulls got the most votes. And honestly, that's not even my issue. My issue is the reasoning they gave and the fact that it's contradictory. The biggest reason that they gave for this being the worst move was the fact that it was, according to them, an overpay. They didn't like the contract and what was given up to get him, which was Thad Young, a future first, and 2 second-round picks. A Western Conference executive said, quote, "Giving up another first-rounder to overpay him was the worst over-the-top move to get behind." Here's my issue with this though. First off, yes, it was a lot to get DeRozan, but that was the only way the Bulls would have landed him since the Lakers were the favorites to get him before, and they would have used a mid-level exception that would have given him around $6 million. Either the Lakers were going to get him for cheap or the Bulls were going to have to be very aggressive, and they chose the latter. And in terms of the contract, 3 years, $85 million for a 32-year-old all-star talent is not all that bad given what he brings to this team. Paying that much for another all-star is not as bad as some think in my opinion. Also, Kyle Lowry, who is 3 years older, got a bigger contract from the Heat. He got 3 years, $90 million. How is that not considered an overpay, but less for a younger player is considered an overpay? I just don't understand the logic from these executives and scouts. Given the competition that was out there and what the market demand was, I don't know what else you could have asked the Bulls to do. They decided to be aggressive, and I think that alone is very commendable given what previous ownership did in their time. And because of that, it's a breath of fresh air for us Bulls fans. Okay, this right here is what really got me mad and what made me want to do this video. If you're a Bulls fan, then you know Nick Friedel. He used to cover the Bulls a few years back during the Garpax era, and to be fair to him, that could not have been fun covering the mess they were and how bad that team was. He was very pessimistic, and understandably so. But since then, he has continued to hold this grudge against the Bulls, and he can't really bring himself to say anything positive about this team. And what he said on The Jump is a perfect example of that. Here's what he said about the Bulls and whether they did enough to be a playoff team.
I think they increased their chances only to a point, though. And George, this is what stuns me, having covered Jerry and Michael Reinsdorf for years and years. That was an ownership group that did not want to go all in to potentially be a team that got bounced in the first or second round of the playoffs. Well, guess what they just did? They went completely all in on a team that at its highest ceiling maybe gets to the second round of the postseason. So I'm still surprised. I know Karnisovas and Eversley are trying to do their own thing in that front office, and I know fans are excited. But when I look at that team in comparison to the rest of the East, I just don't think they improve that much where you can start looking at them going, oh, okay, I see them having a legitimate chance to get up to the top of the Eastern Conference.
Now, I actually don't have much of a problem with what Nick said in that clip. However, he did say that the Bulls didn't improve much. Yeah, I strongly disagree with that, and I don't even need to go into detail with that. Just look at the roster going into last season and going into this season. That's all you need to see when it comes to improvement. He also said that the Bulls are at best a second round team and they're not really a real contender. And yeah, that I do agree with. I mentioned it in my East tiers video, but the Bulls are a tier below the Nets and Bucks, and they're basically in the middle of the pack in the conference. So yeah, that is true, but at the same time, I would much rather be there than at the bottom like we've been since Jimmy Butler got traded. But yeah, what Nick Friedel said didn't really bother me too much, although I did see this tweet from 2018 resurface, and wow, that aged poorly. It's obvious to me that he's still salty about Jimmy Butler getting traded, but we'll leave it at that. But yeah, like I said, Nick wasn't the one that really bothered me in this clip, but what Tim Bontemps said after Nick was what really bothered me.
Look, my guy Nick has covered the Bulls for a long time, and he nailed it on the head. The Bulls have gone all in on two sub-all-star 30-year-old guys in Nick Vucevic and DeMar DeRozan to try to keep a guy in Zach LaVine who has never been on a winning team and now is going to be a free agent year and could leave. And I think there's a real chance the Bulls don't even make the play-in tournament. You know, when you talk about this depth in the Eastern Conference, I think they could finish 11th or 12th very easily. They're going to have a terrible defense. And you look at the way this team is built, like, yes, those guys are durable, but I do not see them having any kind of high ceiling. And now they can't trade a draft pick until what, 2030? 2040? I mean, they've just put themselves in a box for what? For no high ceiling at all. Like Nick said, it's baffling after all the painstaking rebuild they went to not keep Jimmy Butler, who is, by the way, better than all of these guys they have. It's just really strange what the Bulls have set themselves up with here.
Okay, where do I start? Two sub-all-star 30-year-olds. First of all, they're both barely in their 30s. Vucevic is 30 and DeRozan is 32. Why is he acting like they're some fucking old geezers? And also, sub-all-star, Vucevic was an all-star this past season, and he was putting up, what, 20 and 12 the year? That's pretty damn good if you ask me. And DeRozan would have been an all-star if his situation in San Antonio was better because no one was paying attention to him. So that's dumb. And in terms of what we gave up, oh no, we gave up Wendell Carter Jr., who was not good for us, and we gave up the 8th pick, which ended up being Franz Wagner, and we gave up a first for DeRozan. Like, I don't feel bad about losing a first. And even if it does matter that much, we did end up getting one back trading Lauri Markkanen, so that point is irrelevant. And again, I'm tired of picking in the lottery with the hopes of getting someone good. All of our draft picks except for Kobe White and Patrick Williams are gone anyway, so the picks don't matter to me. And then he says that he thinks the Bulls might not make the play-in tournament and they could be an 11th and 12th seed easily? Are you fucking kidding me? The Bulls this season were on their way to making the play-in with a way worse roster, by the way, and they probably would have gotten in if it wasn't for Zach LaVine getting COVID at the worst time possible. And Tim thinks that even after overhauling the roster, we're going to be in the same position as last year? That's ridiculous. Also, I don't entertain people saying anything about how horrible the Bulls are going to be on defense this season because, like Rusty Buckets said in his video, it just tells me that you didn't watch the Bulls play, so I don't even bother arguing about that. But yeah, this clip from the jump really bothered me, and it's a shame that this is the content that we get from the worldwide leader in sports. The disrespect in this video was wild, and I hope that the Bulls can make these guys eat their words because, my god, these takes were bad. Shaq is not someone I look to for basketball opinions, especially about the modern game. But I still think it's interesting what he said, and it's something that I've heard others say, and I really do want to discuss it. A few days ago, Shaq did an interview, and he said that the Chicago Bulls aren't going to, quote, win a championship with that team. He also said this, quote, they're going to try and do the Golden State thing. Force smalls, try to spread it out, shoot, run, Zach LaVine shoots threes, Lonzo gets everyone involved. Okay, first off, he says they're trying to be like the Warriors. Last time I checked, the Warriors were making the finals every year and winning championships. So comparing this Bulls team to them is more of a compliment than a criticism. But put that aside, he says that this isn't a championship team. Again, I agree. But you know what they are? A playoff team. And for a team that hasn't made the playoffs in almost 5 years, is that such a bad thing? I hate this mentality that if they're not competing for a title, then it's just a waste of time completely. The Bulls have been a complete joke for years because of the fact that their roster sucked and they were at the bottom of the standings year after year. They finally changed that, and now it doesn't matter because they're not going to be on tier with the Nets or the Lakers? That's so fucking stupid to me. I hate that it's either win a title or blow the whole thing up for some people. Yes, the Bulls are not a championship team, but they vastly improved their roster and put themselves in a good position to be competing with other teams in the East. To me, the Bulls are in a tier with the Hawks, the Heat, the Celtics, the Knicks, and the Sixers. How is that supposed to be a bad thing? I just don't like that people like Shaq have to go into the extremes when it's not always the case. The Bulls weren't going to go from a lottery team to a contender overnight, but they improved their team to be more competitive and be more respected, and I don't think there's much you can ask for with that. So here's the biggest problem I have with these takes about the Bulls and what they did this offseason. What did you want them to do? This team has been bad for years. They were the laughingstock of the league with Garpax running the show and Jim Boylen as their head coach. The front office decided to change that and build a roster that is more talented and possibly more successful. And now that's a problem? What AK and Mark just did is a complete 180 of what Garpax did, which is basically do nothing in free agency and just keep drafting in the lottery with the hopes of one of them hitting. I don't know about you, but I prefer what just happened over what has been happening with the Bulls. Also, another thing, the media constantly shit on the Bulls for not giving Zach LaVine any help, and now that they did, we're still talking about the Bulls as if they're a bottom feeder in the East? I mean, come on. The media was already pushing the narrative of Zach LaVine leaving the Bulls because they were, quote, wasting his talent. Now we have the best team that Zach LaVine has ever had in his career, and they're still talking about Zach LaVine leaving next season. It's disrespectful to the Bulls and also to Zach LaVine because it implies that he's just not a superstar talent and that he should just go to a contender and be less of a role. I really hope that Zach LaVine just balls the fuck out and the Bulls pay him what he's deserved so that all these media people can stop talking about LaVine leaving. Okay, so to conclude, the Bulls are in the best position they've been in since the Derrick Rose years. Will this team be a top contender? No, but they did big things to improve their roster and to improve their reputation around the league. Of course, it's all going to depend on how this team plays on the court, but I have a really good feeling that these media people are going to be eating their words soon. And as a Bulls fan myself, I could not be more excited about this team, and I just hope that we can prove these people wrong. And that's going to wrap up the video. Thank you guys so much for watching me rant about my favorite team. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and comment down below what your thoughts are on this Bulls team. Do you think I'm right about this team or not? I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel for more NBA content like this. Thank you guys as always for your continuous support, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.